Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of GMP On Air. I'm Andy,
And I'm Nikki.
and we're the account managers for GA360 for our clients here in EMEA. Today, we'll be taking a closer look at Google Analytics for Firebase, which is Google's latest offering in mobile app tracking, and we'll also have an overview of the newly announced App+Web properties that have recently launched in open beta for all of our customers.
Before we begin, we just want to invite you to sign up for our GMP bi-weekly newsletter so that you can receive the latest updates on products, industry, and also training and learning opportunities, as well as see all the future GMP live streams that are coming up. So for that, you just need to go to our website and follow the instructions on the screen.
So in today's live stream, we'll kick off with Google Analytics for Firebase, where we'll go over the features of the product and showcase some of its powerful audience building capabilities. And later on, we'll see how it integrates into the newly available App+Web properties. Nikki will demo for us how quick and easy it is to set one of those new properties up and how you can be on your way to start collecting data from your users across all devices. We'll finish off the session with some of the questions that have been sent over before this stream, and time permitting, we'll try and get to some of the questions that will be posted during the course of this live stream as well. So, kicking off with Firebase and app tracking. The GA app properties have for a long time been Google's main solution for app measurement, and they have obviously been adjusted from their web version, which was quite evident in the way that they were built, and they weren't planned with a mobile apps first mindset. In contrast, Google Analytics for Firebase has been developed from the ground up and built specifically around addressing some of the shortcomings of the legacy solution. Google Analytics for Firebase is a module of a wider Firebase development platform, and it is established as Google's first-party SDK solution. The legacy properties are currently in maintenance mode, which means that there's no further development happening, and plans have already been put in place for a complete sunset of these legacy properties. So these deprecation plans, which have been first announced towards the tail end of last year, have the Google Analytics Services SDK on track to be fully sunset for all of our standard, that is non-360 customers, by the end of October this year.
I have a quick question there, Andy. So what happens if someone is a 360 customer but has standard properties?
So any property within a 360 org, regardless of if it's a premium property or a standard one, would be exempt from this deprecation. So there's nothing to worry about if you're a 360 customer. And also to kind of address another common question in this area, this only affects app properties, so there will be no impact on web properties whatsoever, regardless of if they're standard or 360 properties.
Great.
If you're a 360 customer and you have any doubts or questions about the deprecation timelines and how it impacts your properties, I would suggest reaching out to your GA360 account manager, and they'll be best placed to guide you through the process and clarify the details of those deadlines for you. So, as I said earlier, Firebase Analytics is part of a larger development platform. So we currently have 17 products that are supporting developers across the entire lifecycle of an application. We think of the components of this platform in two different buckets. So we have the one that helps developers build an application, where there is a brand new one or revamping an existing application that you have. And the second part is helping you operate an application once already built and deployed. So starting from the left over here, we have modules such as the one for managing user authentication, or Cloud Firestore, which helps developers save a lot of development time that would be used to kind of implement all of this stuff from scratch in the apps, and instead focus that time on creating value for their users. And then once your app is built, you also have tools such as Crashlytics, which help you improve the stability and performance of your app. And of course, you have Google Analytics for Firebase, which helps you gain more insight into your users and helps drive user engagement and retention. So using GA for Firebase, you can measure up to 500 different events in the app, and each event can have 25 unique parameters associated with it. multiple events are captured automatically without you having to input a single line of custom code. And these events include things such as app installs, uninstalls, or in-app purchases. You can measure performance for your ad campaigns, or you can automatically create alerts and tickets for any issues that crop up in your app through available integrations with third-party software as well. You're also able to stream your analytics events to BigQuery to be able to see the raw data behind all of these reports, which will allow you to have full ad hoc analysis and customized reporting. So let's have a look at the main highlights of GA for Firebase. So first of all, it's completely free. So it allows you to scale as your business and app needs grow. It is designed with apps in mind. Like I said earlier, it was built from the ground up, think about apps first. So it is reflected in the types of reports and metrics that you can pull out of the platform. You don't have to deal with any hit limits, which means that you don't have to worry about going into overages or any sampling. The interface is really simple to use, but it is also packed with features. So this allows you to get the most out of your data. You have user ID capability, which allows you to deduplicate your users across platforms and have a single view of your user. And last but not least, you have powerful audience building capabilities, which will work seamlessly with the reports in the platform, as well as with the products that integrate with GA for Firebase. So, as mentioned previously, some of the events and audiences come ready out of the box. So these pre-configured settings allow you to gain immediate insight into user behavior without having to deploy any custom code besides just implementing the SDK. For the events that are unique to your app and that cannot be pre-configured, it is very simple to log these custom events using just a few lines of code. And we'll have a quick look at one of the examples for this later on in the demo. Firebase even provides suggested events per vertical to get you started. So let's say you have a gaming app, you'd have suggested events such as level up event, or if you're a retail client and you have a retail app, one of the suggested events might be add to wish list for your clients. The audience building capabilities have had some major tweaks as well. So you're able to utilize many of the advanced options when creating your audiences. These include things such as temporary and permanent exclusion criteria, your sequences of events happening inside your app, dynamic dimension filters, or time window metrics. When you link your Firebase project with Google Ads, any audience that you would share over will be pre-populated with 30 days worth of users. So that allows you to instantly use the data, activate the data in your Google Ads campaigns. Similarly to the events and user properties, Firebase will also suggest recommended audiences depending on the vertical that your app is classified under. So, for example, for a gaming app, it might suggest audiences such as top players or top scorers, whereas for your finance apps, it might suggest cross-sellers or searchers, for instance. There's more categories than what is here on the slide, and you can find all of this in the Firebase docs. So let's jump into the platform and have a quick look at how all of this looks in the interface now. So before we go into the audience builder, I just wanted to show you quickly how the app categories work in the interface and how it interacts with the event section. So if you go into your Firebase console and you go into the events tab, you'll notice that for this demo app that we're using here, which is a gaming app, we have some recommended events that Firebase suggests that we should be logging for our app. If we press show all over here, we'll see that there are two different types. So you have the ones that are recommended for games apps and the ones that are recommended in general. Now, these events are not just for reference for you to go into the developer docs and then figure out how to get this implemented. Once you find an event that you think you should be logging, you can literally just click onto it and you'll get the code snippet in whichever language you're developing your app in, which you can just copy over and implement directly inside your app. Now, jumping over to the audiences tab instead. Like I said, the audience builder has had some tweaks as well, and currently it allows you great flexibility in terms of actually building your audiences and then using them to either filter your reports or to act on it through the products that integrate with Firebase. So starting with the second tab over here, so we have the suggested audiences. So the platform is suggesting for us based on the general theme of the app that we could look into creating an audience of recently active users or your users that have not made a purchase yet. And we also have the template section, which allows us to look or easily create segments of users based on specific criteria. So for instance, if we go into the technology template, we'll see that all of the dimensions are pre-populated with dimensions that are essentially technology focused that are available from the platform. So you have things like your device category, device brand, or the OS version. And if you look over into the demographic segment, you'll have the dimensions pre-populated with things such as the language of the app or the age bracket of the user that you're trying to include in this audience. So for the purpose of this demo, we're going to try to create a custom audience from scratch. So like I said, the app that we're looking at over here for the purpose of this demo is a gaming app. And in this gaming app, we have a tutorial. And we've noticed from the reports that we see in our analytics that users who have completed the tutorial are more likely to return to the app and keep using the app and keep playing. So what we would like to do is we would like to create an audience list of users who have completed this tutorial. And since we're already logging this as an event and it's available as a dimension, we just search for tutorial begin, which is the event that denotes that a user has completed this action. And creating this audience will give us the audience of all of the users that have started the tutorial. Now, because we're using a demo account for Firebase and this is not linked to the live app, as you can see over here in the summary on the right hand side, we only have one user, which was most likely a test user. If you set up this audience in your live account, you'll be able to see a summary or an estimate of the amount of users that you'll have inside this audience list that will be available to be shared with Google Ads, for instance. Now, I'd like to also demonstrate the exclusion statements in audiences. So let's say that we would want to create an audience list of users who have started the tutorial but have not completed it. So for that, we would need to use the include statement to include the users who have started the tutorial and exclude everyone who has completed it. So changing the name of the audience list here, the users who have abandoned the tutorial. So we're including users that have begun, and then we're going to exclude the users that have completed the tutorial. This will allow us to have an audience list of users that we can then use for remarketing purposes, for instance, to try and convince them to come back into the app and start using the app again. Now, you might have noticed that there are two options over here for excluding users. So you're able to either temporarily exclude a user, which means that the next time that they meet the inclusion criteria, they'll be re-added into the app. And or you can permanently exclude them, which means that regardless if they at any point in the future meet the inclusion criteria again, they will not be added into this audience list again. So jumping back into the slides, there's just one more feature that I wanted to cover before we hand over to Nikki for the App+Web section, and that is the stream view and debug view modes. So stream view allows you to have a real-time view of all of your users over the past 30 minutes, and it allows you to closely monitor aggregated user behavior in critical times, such as shortly after you publish an app update, for instance. You also have the option to have a closer look at a random user's behavior with the user snapshot feature that you can see in the animation on the slide over here. Now, debug view, on the other hand, is a feature that is super useful for developers, as it allows you to view in real time all of the data, all of the events, user properties that are flowing in from a specific developer device or emulator, and developers can use that for debugging purposes. So this is everything that we have from a Firebase perspective for today. If you have further questions in this space, I invite you to write them down into the chat so we can try and get to those later. And if you require some technical help with the GA for Firebase setup, I suggest you reach out to your Google Analytics 360 account manager, and they'll be best placed to assist and connect you with the right people who will be able to help there. So with that, I'll hand it over to Nikki to take us through the newly available App+Web properties.
Thank you, Andy. So as you probably all know, today's customer has become rather demanding in that they are expecting instantaneous and highly tailored online experiences. So accordingly, marketers, you need to be prepared to have best-in-class measurement platforms that can anticipate clients' behaviors, their needs, and so that you can connect with them when and how those customers prefer. For this, we have currently two solutions. So for our web-first or web-only clients, it's Google Analytics that you're probably all familiar with to some extent. And as Andy has very nicely demoed just now, we have Google Analytics for Firebase for our app-first clients. So just a quick summary of those platforms. So for Google Analytics, you have a free or standard version, as well as an enterprise version that includes service level agreements, higher performance and limits, and of course more customization capabilities as well as roll-up reporting. You have more than 150 analytics reports that span audiences, behavioral reports, conversion data, cross-device report, and more, and also significant ad hoc reporting capabilities. Firebase, on the other hand, is designed for apps specifically, so it really reflects how you think about your business. It's 100% free. There's no associated costs. It scales really well as your business grows. It provides unlimited event reporting, so you can see all of your data and use it to improve your app. The setup is very easy. You need the Firebase SDK, and then it has a lot of out-of-the-box reporting capabilities that Andy has mentioned and shown you before, and also raw data export in BigQuery for detailed analysis. But what happens if someone, for example, starts their journey on your website and then converts in your app? How do you measure that? So previously, analysts had to go to a lot of trouble to kind of try and reconcile those journeys, and some of those models that they came up with sometimes weren't 100% reliable, or the process was inefficient. So for the first time now, we would like to introduce you to App+Web properties, which is a new property type that is currently in public beta. And with that, you can collect and report on data across both web and app platforms. And because it's an events-based, user-centric platform, it enables much faster, fresher, and more granular reporting as well. So at the moment, you're free to sign up for this beta. In fact, you can just go into your platform and create a new web and app property, which I will be demoing to you later on. So if you go to the key benefits and value proposition of App+Web properties, as I've mentioned, it is events-based and it is user-centric. So as a result, it allows for much faster reporting. It has a fully extensible event model, and you can have unsampled reporting in the platform for all customers. When it comes to implementation, I will be talking about this a little bit more during the demo, but basically it is very easy to implement, and if you have GTAG or are using GTM, then you don't need additional coding, implementation, or complex configuration. It is cross-platform, which is the first product that we have that can do this. So before you had cross-device reporting with user ID, but now you're actually able to extend that and look at cross-platform journeys as well. You have a lot of ad hoc analysis capabilities, so we have some improved data visualization in the tool, in the platform, and more granular analysis, some of which I will be showing to you as well, so that you can have a deeper understanding of your users across app and web. Last but not least, there are improved machine learning capabilities that we're having that allow you to automatically surface anomalies, insights, and predictions as well. As I've mentioned, App+Web is currently in public beta since August 2019. So you just need to basically go into the tool, click Create New Property, and then you will see basically these options that you have here. So Web, App, or App+Web. And in there you need to go to the third option, which will take you through the setup flow, which I'm going to show you right now in one moment. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so sorry. So once you go create property, then you will be able to see what I mentioned. So you will be able to see Web, App, and App+Web. So we go select App+Web. We name it, so we name it GMP test. You are encouraged to select your industry category here so that analytics can offer you relevant benchmarks in reporting. So we'll go with automotive in this case. Time zone, we are in Ireland, and we would like to see euros. So once that's done, you need to select your data stream, both for app and for web. So we will start with app. So it's Android, so we need a package name, which will be, in this case, whatever we have, and then
there's space in there. You have to remove the space, I think.
Yeah, sorry. Yes. And then we will just go my app here. So we're registering the app. This will create a Google Cloud project, a Firebase project, and an app stream as well. So once that is done, you just need to download the config file and then finally add the Firebase SDK. After that, we have verification that you will need to run in that case. So here you have the code for the SDK implementation, and we will skip this step now because it might take a while. So once you have added your data stream for apps, then you will see all of the data that you added here, and then once we go to web, we can add the web stream here. So we will just go taz.com, and then you have the option to enable enhanced measurement, which is basically out-of-the-box event reporting. So for this, you won't need to do any additional coding. At the moment, you have 6 event options here. So you can measure page views, scrolls, outbound clicks, site search, video engagement, and file downloads. If you click on settings, you can also toggle these on and off individually. And for some of them, you have advanced options. So for example, for site search, in advanced settings, you can set up the exact query parameters that you would like analytics to pick up on and report on. So once that is done, we just click Create Stream, and then we will get the tagging instructions, which is something that I referred to early on when I was talking about the value proposition. So from a tagging perspective, you will need to have either GTag or GTM, so Google Tag Manager, implemented. And with this, you have 2 options. So if you have previously implemented GTag for a different property, you can just use this existing on-page tag. And basically, for Google Analytics. So if it is not done through Google Tag Manager, then you just need to go to the admin section in Google Analytics, go to the tracking code, then you would click connected site tags, and just connect the measurement ID that you can see up here for this stream. For Google Tag Manager, if you already have an existing implementation, then you would just go to tags, create a new tag, and in the tag configuration settings, you select Google Analytics App+Web configuration, and again you add this measurement ID, and that way you won't need to do any retagging. Or if you don't have an existing implementation, then you can just follow the instructions here to add the new global site tag and to have a new Google Tag Manager implementation. So you will see connected site tags here as well. So it is possible, if you're implementing a new G tag for this particular property, it is possible to connect other properties and to send the data there as well. So this is where you would do that. Great. So once you have the data streams all configured, then you might want to adjust the data retention settings. So at the moment, the maximum that you can do for App+Web is 2 months. However, in the drop-down, you do have a 14-month option because this is currently in development. So if you select 14 months, as soon as this becomes available, you will be able to retain data for a full 14 months. And then the only thing that you have left basically is to select the default reporting identity. At the moment, we have 2 options here. The default is user ID and device. So basically, whenever you're sending user ID with an event, then we'll be using user ID, and if it's not available, then we'll use the device ID, which is basically the analytics cookie for web and the app instance ID for apps. Or you can select device only. In that case, all user IDs will be just ignored, and it will the system will only look at device IDs. Something to mention here is that you can change your mind at a later date. So even if you select device only right now, but then you would like to report on user ID as well, you can absolutely do that, and then historical user ID data will also be surfaced. Great. So once you save that, basically you're done with your setup, and you have your brand new App+Web property. So let's go back to the slides now. So this was just something that I wanted to reiterate one more time. User ID was powerful before, and it allowed you to have a lot of cross-device insights on your users that you wouldn't be able to have otherwise. However, right now, you can have cross-device and cross-platform insights as well by using user ID. So one example that you can also see on the slides here is measuring journeys that it might include a visit to your mobile website and then ends with a conversion in your mobile app. We also have a new feature in the analysis beta. This is the section where you would normally have the funnel reporting, and you can just drag and drop metrics. The funnel reporting now has pathing, which is basically used to understand the actions that users take between steps in a funnel. So you can discover, for example, looping behavior this way if someone gets stuck at some step, or you can see like what impact what impacts an event has on subsequent user actions. So I would really recommend you to try this. It's really intuitive to use. And as I mentioned, you can reach this from the analysis section of your reporting. Integration with Google Ads, I believe Andy has mentioned this, but basically this is already live in App+Web properties. So one thing to note, maybe if you're trying to link from the Google Ads side, then you won't see an App+Web properties option just yet. So you would need to select Firebase in order to do the linking. This will of course change, but just for you to know for now. When it comes to audience exports from Google Analytics into Google Ads, so at the moment this is only for app data, so web data is not there yet, but this is also something that is coming soon. It's supposed to come this year. So once you export an audience into Google Ads, in the future, in order to have a web data there, you will need to enable Google Signals in your App+Web property. And another thing to note is that in the Google Ads UI, the audiences will be categorized as app. However, they will be inclusive of web data, and you can use this to target web campaigns in Google Ads as well. For now, audiences will not be deduplicated across app and web in the Google Ads UI, and this is also something that is coming a bit later. Apart from that, the integration has basically the features that you would expect from a Google Ads integration with Google Analytics. So you can have conversion exporting, as well as reporting of Google Ads data in Google Analytics in App+Web. So last but not least, I just want to mention a couple of features that are coming soon. So we heard you loud and clear when you gave us feedback that you're missing enhanced e-commerce reporting, and the good news is that it is coming very soon. BigQuery integration, same thing, it will be available soon. I have already mentioned this, but there are additional machine learning capabilities, anomaly detection and predictions that are coming up and that are being continuously developed. Offline data integration as well will come soon to App+Web. And last but not least, we will have a premium tier that will include service level agreements. So stay tuned for new updates, and I would really encourage all of you to test this property. Even if you're not an app first client, you might want to start testing it, because there will be a lot of new features coming soon that will be relevant for you as well. So basically, just to recap, so App and Web is our new property type that is currently in beta, and that allows you to report on app and web data in the same property, and to activate these insights in terms of like audience creation as well. It is an event-based, user-centric platform that allows for much faster data analysis and fresher data that gives you unsampled reports, ad hoc analysis capabilities, as well as advanced machine learning capabilities in the form of insights, and that is easy to implement if you have GTAG and GTM or GTM implemented. So with that, we would like to now go to the Q&A section of the session. So we received quite a lot of questions in advance. So first of all, we would like to go over the most common ones, and then afterwards, if the time allows, we will take some live questions as well before we say goodbye. So with that, let's go to our first question. The question was, are there any plans on increasing the limits on user properties, events, and parameters, etc.? So right now, if you upgrade to the new App+Web property, the number of custom parameters that you have, the custom dimensions that you have, is increased from 50 to 100. However, we are looking for feedback, our product teams are looking for feedback continuously from your end on all the other limitations, to see what we could increase or what we could change in the future. So stay tuned again.
Yeah. Okay, second question was, can this property be connected to a rollup property? I think relatively easy one. As of right now, it cannot be. However, this is something that is being considered and most likely coming in the future as well.
Great. So question number 3, how is data collected without Web User ID implementation? Can you please elaborate on joining user data among web and app, especially about IDs, device ID, user ID? So this is something that I have already mentioned to some level in the demo part. So basically, when you're sending user ID with events, we process those IDs in parallel with the device IDs, which enables us to kind of switch between a device or user-centric view at any time. And when clients use this user ID enabled identity space, which is the default, then we will report on users based on user IDs for any event that was sent with a user ID, and all of the other events will be reported with a device ID. And as I mentioned, device IDs are the analytics cookie for web and basically the app instance ID for apps. Hope that answers your question.
Cool. Next question. How to correctly transfer events to GTM version 5 container? So the question is not super clear, but I'm going to assume that it relates to things like enhanced e-commerce implementation, for instance. So the main difference between GTM version 4 and older and GTM version 5 is the concept of the data layer. So GTM version 4 and older used the data layer in a similar way to the web containers, where you had a data layer object and you picked up data out of that data layer and then configured all of your tags to be sent to various endpoints within Tag Manager. Now, GTM version 5 does away with that, and it uses Firebase events instead of the legacy data layer. So all of the data that you want to be sending to your endpoints, whether it is your Google Analytics or any third-party app measurement solution, need to be set up inside the app code with Firebase events, and then GTM can pick that data up from there and redirect it to whichever endpoint you want to send it to. This question comes up quite a bit for our 360 customers who are looking to migrate from the legacy properties to the new Firebase ones, while still keeping enhanced e-commerce functions working. So if you're a 360 customer and you're planning this migration, then I urge you to reach out to your account manager, who can help you put together a migration plan to get this completed.
Perfect. Next question. Can we track app installs and frequency of app launch? So the answer to this one is a partial yes. So as Andy has mentioned, in Firebase you can track app installs, and because App+Web inherits all the measurement capabilities of Firebase, it's also possible to track app installs within the App+Web properties. When it comes to the frequency of app launch, well, this is not something that's available by default, but you can always just configure a custom event to fire whenever someone opens the app. So that would sort of be the workaround for now.
Great. Next question. How can we extract data from App+Web GA resource? Are you planning to add a function to Google Analytics API? So currently there is no support for an API, any API calls to the App+Web properties. This is something that is being looked at and will most likely be coming in the near future.
All right. Next question. Will the new App+Web property and its new tracking approach and data model become the new GA in the long run? So as I mentioned, we would really recommend everyone to test the solution for now, even if you're not an app-first client. In this case, you would kind of do a dual implementation. So the current version of App+Web is not intended to replace your analytics reporting and your web analytics offering at this stage. So you would just be testing this kind of as an added enhanced property, so to say. But of course, as I mentioned, we are continuously adding in new features and will continue to do so in the next year as well. So we will let you know of any further developments as time goes on.
Great. Will it be possible in the near future to combine different events and screens using the GA or Firebase web UI? I don't think that you would be able to combine events, or at least to my knowledge, you won't be able to combine events or screens within the UI. However, if this is some sort of custom analysis that you require, you can link your Firebase property to BigQuery to extract the raw data, and then essentially your options are limitless in terms of transforming this data or analyzing it in whichever way you want. Okay, I think that was all the questions that we had prepared from that were sent before, so we can take a look at some of the live questions. We have one again asking, can the app and web property be linked to a rollup property? So we already covered that one. So we've got one here. Google Analytics for Firebase and App+Web. Do users need to create a new property and lose all legacy data, or is it possible to keep the legacy data in the setup? So if you already have a Firebase property, you can just go into the Firebase UI and upgrade that property to App+Web, and you retain all of your historical data that way. So there's no loss of data or anything. The demo that Nikki showed us was creating a new property from scratch, where you had to register a new Firebase project to get that set up. However, if you already have an existing Firebase project, you can just upgrade that to your App+Web, and doing so will also increase the limits on the reporting parameters that Nikki mentioned.
Okay.
Another, I think, similar question there. Can you use an existing Firebase project, or do you have to create and implement Firebase again?
Yeah.
How can you add dimensions within this new property? Is it by event parameter or any other way? To my knowledge, at least, I think the way to implement it is because everything is event based. So similarly to how you would implement an event in Firebase, if you want to add extra context to that event, and you're looking for some extra details about that event in your reporting, you would just attach parameters to your event, and through that way you could essentially mimic the custom dimensions that you have in the legacy properties.
Okay. Then I think we had a question about enhanced e-commerce and whether once the feature is released we need to update existing data layer events. So for now, this is not yet determined, so please stay tuned and we will keep you posted on any developments around enhanced e-commerce.
Yeah. Just to add to that one on the enhanced e-commerce, so in the developer documentation, you do have the guidelines to implement enhanced e-commerce right now, in the sense that you implement it through Firebase events, and then you use GTM version 5 to pass that information back to a legacy property. Obviously, this would only work for 360 customers because the legacy properties are being sunset for all other customers at the end of next month. So if you are an enhanced e-com client and you would like help with this migration, then again, just reach out to your account managers, or we'll be able to kind of guide you through this migration.
We had one more question around the retention period. Yeah, whether that will be extended or the maximum will always be 14 months. So for now it is planned to keep it at 14 months, but obviously based on your feedback as well, that might change in the future. For now we don't have any plans to extend it beyond that time.
Okay, I think we've got about a minute left. So
yeah, so thank you so much for all of your questions. For the questions that have not been answered, we'll get to them after this live stream, and we'll input the answers in the description of the video for you. Yes, so thanks again for tuning in. Please, as we mentioned at the beginning, just sign up to our newsletter so that you're aware of any new developments and new sessions coming up. And well, happy analyzing. Hope you'll enjoy testing your new App+Web property and Firebase.
Thank you guys. See you next time.
See you.